evening on air and also online on our various platforms. So I'm going to come over and show my face here a little bit. Thanks for joining again. Appreciate the patience interrupting live programming. This is the main area of severe weather across portions of Saginaw, Alma, Flint, Lapeer. There is the low risk for tornadoes. It's certainly non-zero. We're going to just kind of the timing between here and about 9 o'clock or so with the numerous threat for some strong to severe thunderstorms. So severe thunderstorm watch is in effect across pretty much our entire area from the Bay through the Thumb and then down towards the south as well. But with that are the risks for some of these storms to get a little rotation in them and have quick spin-ups. Some of these end up producing an actual tornado. Some of them just quickly appear on radar and then disappear, and they don't actually touch down. But the threat is certainly there when we see these little like squiggles, if you will. So this is the line. It's kind of a nice bowing line that indicates that very strong wind rushing into it, and all that lightning here as well. So very active. This is a big deal type of a storm system, certainly an elevated risk. So again, kind of to get a perspective, the Lansing area here, Ithaca area here, and then Grand Rapids here, there's 80-mile-per-hour winds recorded in Grand Rapids with this storm. A lot of these little stronger sections are recording 60 to 70 miles per hour, fairly widespread, where you have that. So this is all kind of pushing off towards the north-northeast. We're going to continue to monitor it as severe thunderstorm warnings will start getting issued across portions of mid-Michigan in the next little bit. And this is going to include Flint, most likely. It's going to include Saginaw. It's going to include probably up to Midland, maybe Bay City as well. And then we'll see if it maintains itself through the Thumb all the way to Lake Huron, but the chance is certainly there. So again, these little notches right here are what we're kind of monitoring, and then it's just strong gusty winds with this system as well. So pardon me as I kind of move things around a little bit and showcase the latest of what's going on, showcasing one of the other velocity products that we have. And this really shows you just this strong wind moving on in. So tornado warnings affecting Gratiot County in our area, but also Clinton and Montcalm. So you can see here, this is some pretty strong gusty wind here. We're going to try to get kind of that sampling of how strong the winds are, and I don't think my radar product necessarily is loving me right now, but this is most likely a good 60 to 70 miles per hour as I'm looking at one of the other products that we have on another computer, and that is certainly strong enough to do some damage potentially. But in that could be even a little bit stronger of a wind gust that is embedded. So let's go up and try to find any of the more noticeable areas of rotation along the 57 and 127 corridor here. Again, this is going to kind of push through Fulton, Ithaca, Ashley, Lakefield. You want to be in the lowest level of your home. You want to be in an enclosed area away from doors and windows. If you don't have a basement, stairwell, bathroom, that certainly makes sense. So looking at different radar products here, definitely can see these little tiny notches, nothing huge that shows up, so that's certainly good news. We don't want anything that's very indicative of a potential tornado on the ground, but we certainly want to take our precautions. This product is correlation coefficient, also known as just how similar different particles are in the atmosphere in our debris tracker, and not really picking up on any kind of signatures at this point, so that is great news at this current juncture. But just kind of switching between our different products that we have, we're trying to watch for any kind of little localized area of spin, and across portions of that Summer, Fulton, Essex area, you're dealing with certainly the very strong gusty winds, but any kind of tornado would be very quick to develop here, and it just doesn't look like anything is making itself known, but that doesn't mean that that can't quickly happen with these type of setups. We certainly see that a lot, where things just, they pop up and they develop so fast, sometimes just in between radar scans. Zooming on out a bit, this is the storm reports, and I just want to show you that yes, there has been a handful of different strong wind reports or damaging wind reports across southwest Michigan. This is the batch of storms that are currently moving on in, so the definite history there of some severe weather. Power outages are certainly around that Grand Rapids area, portions of southwestern Michigan around Kalamazoo, so these storms are potent enough to produce some true severe weather. So you want the Storm Ready Weather Alert app. Definitely a great idea to have to get those latest updates through the storm, and then obviously we'll be covering things as we go through this period as well. This is all due to a huge warm front boundary across our area, putting temperatures around 70 to the south and well into only the 40s once you get into Bay City and Mount Pleasant. Now, this frontal boundary, we'll see if it ticks up anymore, but that's crazy. Just 26 degrees in Gladwin. Power outage potential over the course of the next several hours is going to fade away, hopefully, once these storms get much east of Saginaw and Flint towards Lake Huron. Once they lift north into this cold air, that threat is really not there. So you don't have to worry about it too much across our far northern area. So here's how to get the alerts, having a NOAA weather radio. Of course, the app, as we just mentioned, our Facebook page is midmichigannow.com. We've been keeping you updated on there for sure. A little look here for tonight. We're going to get cold on the backside of this system, dropping back to the 30s area-wide. There'll still be some rain showers after this moves out. It'll be a little bit breezy. There could be some fog that develops. Quick look at the extended forecast showing that chilly weather in the wake of the system. And then another rain system on Wednesday as we stay super active. We'll have maybe a little snow tomorrow. It's not going to be a big deal. That'll come through in the morning with a little bit of a mix, not really causing any accumulation or anything. We're back in the 50s after that. So just kind of cycling through here again, the severe weather threat is in effect really for the next 2 to 3 hours or so across the area, especially south of the Bay, so Bad Axe, kind of that Saginaw, Alma area, and then south. So severe thunderstorm watch is out, and that is across pretty much the entire area except for far north. But these storms, once they move into that cold air, they're going to really quickly lose the punch. And again, just kind of orient yourself. Here's what we're looking at as far as this line of storms. It is potent, lots of lightning and thunder on this leading edge, the gusty winds pushing off towards the north-northeast along this frontal boundary, and this will move across portions of Flint and Saginaw here within the next 45 minutes to an hour or so. So we're going to probably have multiple times with this line where there are these little spin-ups that could potentially develop. And the National Weather Service is going to issue tornado warnings for some of the more peculiar type areas. Now, this doesn't mean that there's going to be a large tornado on the ground that's going to do damage for a long time. These could be just little signatures on radar that could quickly turn into a potential tornado that we want to just err on the side of caution and provide that insight to you that yes, you need to take cover, that this could happen at any point, but it doesn't mean it's a definite. So don't want to be able to scare you too much. While this is an elevated severe weather threat, not expecting a major severe weather outbreak across our entire area with everybody getting 70 to 80 mile per hour winds or multiple different larger tornadoes. Could we have a couple of spin-up tornadoes tonight? Yes. Could there be a tornado that does develop, that does get a little bit stronger under this type of setup that we've seen before many times? Yes, but that risk is still fairly low. The biggest risk for tornadoes is quick spin-ups, EF0, EF1. That would be the main thing that we're dealing with. Obviously, if that hits anything, that's going to do damage. That's going to ruin somebody's day, somebody's year. But the good news is the main threat for tornadoes is fairly low, and the significant type of tornado threat is very low at this point. Damaging wind threat is certainly elevated, bigger than your traditional strong to severe thunderstorm event. So there's going to be some 60 to 70 mile per hour winds, potentially higher in a few spots, and that's going to unfortunately do some damage as well as this batch moves on through. It really looks like, because we're going to lose kind of that peak heating of the day here, in 2 hours and 3 hours, that as this system goes closer to Lake Huron and then also runs into some colder air and gets closer to the lake, that the best threat is probably within the next hour, hour and a half or so, maybe a little bit longer. We'll see how long the strongest duration continues, but this is a pretty decent line of strong to severe thunderstorms for sure. So it's going to continue to moving off towards the northeast, and we're going to continue to kind of bring you the latest information at times. But I want to stay with you on air as we walk you through any potential tornado situations as well. And I think especially on this update right now, for everybody that's joining, we want to really be able to kind of just prep you, whether you're under a tornado warning or not, that these storms are going to be coming through, and they're going to be pretty potent, and you're going to be dealing with a true round of severe thunderstorms with a lot of lightning and thunder, some torrential rain, and gusty winds for most everybody. This is not going to be one of those just very isolated type of deals with at least impacts. You'll certainly know that there's some pretty good storms moving through. So this is the line right now, the Ithaca area through Ovid, back through the east of Lansing, and then down further south into the Ann Arbor area. This is sliding off towards kind of that northeast direction. And I'm going to move the radar around a little bit. We're going to get you the latest on any sort of warnings, watches, advisories, and then walk through on upcoming tornado warnings that are across the area as well. So looks like the National Weather Service is going to continue to issue those tornado warnings as they see fit with any of these little notches. So the latest one just being issued is for Shiawassee County, so the Owasso area. I'm going to zoom on in here. It's for this line here coming out of Perry, Scioto, and sliding off towards the northeast. There's a couple little tiny kind of notches within this line that they would potentially be monitoring for sure. So that's what we're going to keep a close watch on right now. So this was just issued, and we'll get you the latest information on how long that's going to run. They're also talking about some hail within this storm as well, but this is going to run for the next half hour at this point. So tornado warning for Shiawassee County until 7:15 at this point, and this is sliding off towards the northeast. So tornado precautions. This is definitely important. Want to reinforce this again for anybody that is dealing with this line of storms, and this is good advice for any storm. It doesn't have to be just for tonight. When there's a tornado warning issued for you, you want to certainly start taking tornado precautions by getting in a sheltered area. You want to be in the lowest level of a home or business or other shop, store, restaurant. If there's a basement, that's certainly preferable. Another key is away from windows. Get to the interior. If there's interior rooms, that's a huge plus. So under the stairs, in a bathroom, that type of deal, anywhere in the interior. And then remember the tornado sheltered positions from childhood. Of course, that's a good idea. It's always a good idea to have a full severe weather safety kit on hand. This could even include a helmet. It can include shoes, just in case, depending on the risk. But you want to get that information kind of fed to you as you go into your position, so you can get updated on exactly where the main danger is headed. So that's where having the app and following us online or watching whatever kind of streaming service or cable or satellite provider you have to watch us as we give you those storm ready weather alerts and warnings. And that's super important for the kind of the street by street information on exactly where the different areas that could be actually impacted are. And we try to walk you through it nice and calm, each and every storm for sure. So this event, no different than any other event, with keeping those tornado precautions certainly in mind. You don't want to be in a mobile home during a tornado warning. If you're out on the road, you want to make sure to get away from where that warning is. And if a tornado is absolutely on top of you, you want to be able to shelter in a ditch or get shelter inside some residence or business and be able to take those sturdy precautions. So let me move the radar around a little bit more. try to find if we can see any of the severe weather here within this specific storm that we have the latest warning in. And definitely packing a punch, that's for sure. Let me show you the latest velocity imagery here. There we go. So they are monitoring, the National Weather Service, this area here around Woodhull to Perry and Bennington. So this is going to be the far southwestern extent of Shiawassee County, and this is moving off towards the north-northeast towards the M52 corridor, Owasso towards 21, probably just west of the Vernon area, but certainly the Bennington, Owasso area at this point. And kind of that main area of concern right now is going to be, let me pull up something that could circle here, kind of right in here, the Woodhull Perry area, where you see that green and red close together. So green is moving towards the radar site, red is moving away. So whenever you have winds moving in different directions, totally different directions close together, that showcases the rotation. And as that rotation gets closer and closer, so you have those greens and reds very close, that means that that rotation's over a very tight area. If it's over a larger area, it's more broad. It's more of what we're talking about, the mesocyclone, the overall storm spinning. But once it gets more tight, then it's, oh my gosh, there could be a wall cloud that could form a funnel cloud at any moment. And then if the environment's right, a funnel cloud could obviously touch down and turn into a tornado. And in these type of setups, it doesn't really take too much. This stuff happens quick. They can touch down quick. They can lift up quick. So something certainly to keep in mind as these storms are moving at a pretty good clip off towards the north-northeast. And again, I would say this is kind of a couple different threats here. The green color around the Perry area and back towards like Victor and near Ovid, I mean, that is some strong wind. That's probably going to be some 60 to 70 mile per hour wind gust potential. But there is, unfortunately, it looks like right along that Perry to Antrim area, just along that 69 corridor, that is a corridor of certain rotation, interest at the very least, right into here. That is not a huge distance between the red and the green, and not only is it just green, it's those very bright greens, which indicate some very strong wind. So this is something close that we need to watch. Again, this is right along the Antrim to Perry area. And this is sliding north-northeast towards 69. Another thing to keep in mind, whenever we're watching for severe weather on radar, there's about a 3 to 5 minute delay from when a piece of the storm was actually sampled to when the next kind of scan comes on in at times. So in a fast-moving environment where you have these storms moving at 30, 40, 50 miles per hour, typically by the time that we're showing them on radar, they're at least a little bit past where they typically would be seen. So that's something to keep in mind as we go through tonight as well, that we do have that threat typically already further progressed. So it's probably already just shy of the Shiawassee area at this point, back in towards like the M52 corridor, the Pittsburgh area. So looking at some different products, and that is some very, very strong gusty wind. No doubt about it. I'm seeing radar indicated at about 66 to 70 miles per hour. Now that is sampled a little bit aloft, so that doesn't necessarily mean it's right on the ground. But regardless, some of that has the chance to flow down towards the ground. So, I mean, we're talking certainly 40, 50 mile per hour gusts easy, but there certainly could be, based on this radar signature, some winds that are 60, 70 miles per hour coming on down and actually impacting folks. And there is an area of some rotation associated with that around that Antrim, Perry, and into Shiawassee area at this point. I'm going to move it up the line a little bit. We'll zoom out here just for a little bit of perspective. This is right across portions of southern Shiawassee County, mainly in the southwestern area. We're watching kind of where these little notches are in that line. I'm going to zoom out more and give you more of the perspective of some of these gusty winds. You can see some pretty colors for sure. South of St. John's there in those blues, the bright blues, and some of the brighter greens. Into the Alma area, pretty strong as well. Ashley, North Star. This is another tornado warning that's in effect for this area. So this includes the Gratiot County area, and that tornado warning is also running until 7:15 p.m. So something to keep a close eye on. Hail's not going to be a big deal with this. I think any hail that happens is going to be fairly small for the most part. It's all about the winds, whether it's straight line or it's potentially spinning. So something to keep a close eye on, absolutely. I'm going to go back to the Doppler radar here, and we'll kind of cycle things around a little bit. But these are the warnings that are currently in effect across our whole region. You can see it's pretty much a good section of our entire region that is currently dealing with something on the screen. And what are all these colors? Well, in that kind of magenta-ish, pinkish color, that is a severe thunderstorm watch that's in effect. Most of us right now, population-wise, are under the wonderful severe thunderstorm warnings. This includes Genesee County, this includes Saginaw County, and then up a little bit further north as well, covering the Mount Pleasant area. And then we have these two tornado warnings that are in effect here. This is for Shiawassee County, and then this tornado warning for Gratiot County. So that's what's going on here currently. We're going to stay with you for the foreseeable future. If I really see that there's not much of a threat with the tornado warnings, or if the tornado warnings expire, we'll let you go back to regular programming and then just kind of cut in once in a while here and stay live on our digital platforms. So if you head to midmichigannow.com, you would certainly be able to get coverage there. But definitely keep an eye out for us to come back on air, because I think based off of how this line's behaving, we're going to have more tornado warnings, and it's an FCC requirement that we do cover that. Not only that it's a requirement, we want you to be safe. This is us doing our jobs, just trying to make sure that you have the proper information available. And I want everybody to be understanding that whether this is affecting you or nearby or absolutely nobody you know, there's still your neighbors out there. It's still part of the community. Everybody deserves to be safe and have the best possible information and multiple ways of getting that information so they can make informed decisions during potentially dangerous weather. So this is kind of that main situation as we go throughout the next few hours. Kind of what you see is what you get. It's going to move off towards the north-northeast. It's going to produce probably multiple areas of some damaging wind, and there's going to be a few tornado warnings, and probably a couple spin-ups are possible. This is what we've been talking about now for a good few days or so. So back to the radar. This is moving at a good pace. I've seen storm systems move faster, but it's probably moving about 30, 40 miles per hour or so. You can see those severe thunderstorm warnings stretch out across portions of Flint and Saginaw on the 7523 corridor at this time. They're going to be expanded further off towards the northeast. This isn't going to just hit a wall and die on out, but I do think there's going to be a weakening trend as we go in towards hopefully portions closer to Lake Huron. So I think it's something where you got to still stay on guard along portions of the thumb, right along the bay. But hopefully there's going to be at least a weakening trend. I do not think there's going to be a weakening trend for Flint and Saginaw. I think you're going to get hit with a pretty good brunt of storms here in the next little bit. I'm going to zoom out even a little bit more, give you kind of a full look at everything going on here currently. Let's show you a little bit more of a wide view. This is including satellite imagery, just the focus point of kind of how strong those storms are. And I will showcase a little bit further north as well, just kind of giving everybody an idea. Yes, there could certainly be some strong thunderstorms that do move into portions of our northern area, but they're going to probably fizzle pretty quick as it moves into really cold air, and probably some small hail with that, maybe a couple rumbles of thunder, some heavy rain. We've definitely dealt with a nice chunk of icing across Grayling and the Escoda area. Unfortunately, for sure, last night we were kind of fearing that that was going to be a bigger deal across portions of that region. But you can see Big Rapids back in towards a little bit further off towards the south. I'll shut the lightning off here, give you a little bit of a better view. Clear area. The Midland area here, going to get into some storms. Mount Pleasant right now getting hit fairly decently with some storms. Let me try to fire up the camera for Mount Pleasant and see what we can see. That camera might not be available. It wasn't the last time I looked, but we'll give you a look at that here in just a moment. Further south down this line, you can see the Ashley area towards Owasso getting hit pretty hard with this. And then further off towards the south, it's really more of the same. I want to probably draw your attention a little bit towards this to the south of our area. That's got a little hail on it, had some pretty torrential rain. There's some pretty good winds with that too. That has probably the best chance of moving up into Fenton and Flint here in the next little bit. So things to certainly keep in mind. And again, progression is off towards the kind of the north-northeast. And we'll give you kind of a reset and a full explanation of everything going on here tonight in just a moment. For new people that are viewing, we definitely love to keep everybody updated on kind of the latest and take things back a step and kind of showcase everything as a whole. Yeah, as far as now, no Mount Pleasant camera available. Nothing that we can really see from Saginaw or Flint yet because storms are still a little bit far out, but we'll show local tower cams here in just a little bit. I'm going to also show you the future radar here in just a tiny bit. So I'll give you the opportunity to kind of walk through that. All right, let's showcase that. Here's how it's looking over the course of the next few hours or so into the rest of the night so you guys can plan. This is going to be the transgression as it moves off towards the north-northeast, staying with maybe the threat for a little bit of that mixing far north. There you can see over the course of the next couple of hours or so, it is going to be ready to exit stage right along Lake Huron, and it should weaken pretty quickly once it gets close to the lake, I think. But until then, it's going to still pack a punch. So everything is probably out of our area by 9 o'clock. Except for some showers. And this model looks like it probably is fairly spot on the time. So I would say the next couple of hours is really the time that we have to batten down the hatches across our whole area. But if you're in Saginaw and Flint, this is going to be out within the next hour and a half or so, just kind of showers on the back end. And that's kind of the progression as it moves through. And then look at this for tomorrow, some of that whites and blue stuff on the screen. There'll be maybe a little snow shower activity possible as much colder air pushes on in. As we'll see clearing tomorrow night. Temperatures are going to be probably teens, 20s in spots. It's going to be very cold for sure. That's definitely unfortunate. All right, let's reset everything and showcase kind of everything that we have going on from a more zoomed out perspective. Hello, everybody. Brian Ivy here with you. Eric is off, so getting a little bit of R&R. So I've been here for the last several days, anchoring all the weather coverage, and happy to be joined with you again. Apologies for having to interrupt programming, but we want to give you the latest information on this strong to severe line of storms moving through, including a couple tornado warnings for our area. Numerous severe weather, and this is going to go probably till about 9 o'clock across our area. There is the lower risk for tornadoes, but it's certainly going to be a possible risk as we go throughout tonight. Main risk here in more of the orange color, but yes, Bay City, yes, Bad Axe, Port Austin, you're certainly in play for some of these storms, and that is why that severe thunderstorm watch is in effect across the entire area. The storms are now out of western Michigan. They're out of the Indiana area, so this is the main round, and look at how much this bows. You can see that right there. That is definitely indicative of a very, very strong wind event across the area. Grand Rapids saw 80-mile-per-hour winds confirmed. There was multiple different damage reports in southwestern Michigan, and this is the same bulk of the storms, kind of a peak heating moving on through. It'll start weakening a little bit, hopefully in another hour or an hour and a half as it reaches our far eastern area. But unfortunately, until we get there, it's going to slam across portions of Midland Bay City, Flint, Saginaw in pretty full force. You could see plenty of rain with this system. Juxtaposition off towards the north-northeast, and wherever you have these bows, there's little notches in the bows, and those little apexes like to create spin. Some of the wind essentially from like the side parts of the line kind of collapse inward, and you get multiple like eddies or vortices is what we call, and that creates spin, and there's enough dynamics with plenty of humidity and a decent amount of kind of energy up to the front that allows these to spin on down as quick tornadoes. So that's why you'll see some tornado warnings being issued, and some of these might occur as an actual tornado, and some of these might just fail to actually develop. Of course, that's what we hope. But looking at the overall winds across our southwestern area right now, I mean, we got some pretty good gusts across Owasso into the Burns area at this point. Definitely indicative of some downdrafts of 50 to 70 miles per hour or so. We'll show you a little bit more on the radar. We'll show you a little bit more on the wind side of things in a little bit. It does look like events with at least damaging wind reports and some overall like damage reports have become a little less numerous moving out of Kalamazoo towards the Lansing area. So I don't know if that's necessarily a good sign or if it just takes a little longer to kind of come in, but certainly plenty of them have been around across Indiana and far southwest Michigan, and that is the portion of the storm that's moving on in towards our area. So that is indicative of kind of that severity level. So Storm Ready Weather Alert app, you definitely want to have that handy. Very important to have for sure for the latest updates. Look at the temperature spread. This is all due to a major front across the area, from temperatures in the 20s and 30s to the temperatures near 70 degrees, well into the 60s. And this is very humid air, and this is very dry air, relatively speaking. So this huge clash with all this energy pushing on through is, yeah, we kind of knew it wasn't going to be a great situation. Power outage potential. I mean, the good news is we're kind of forecasting more of those isolated to scattered type power outages over the next few hours and then diminishing. Hopefully it does not become super numerous or anything. So definitely want to get the latest alerts. It's always a good idea to have multiple different ways to get alerts, not just going on Twitter, not just relying on a local Facebook page. You want to be able to have the latest from our app that's going to give you the updated warnings, watches, advisories. Our Facebook pages, we're putting out the content, the streaming, midmichigannow.com, of course. It's always good to have multiple different ways to get the alerts and information. Tonight, 35 degrees, the early strong to severe thunderstorms, then some residual rain showers, little fog. It'll be breezy as well. Much colder air pushing on in. This is going to be just a huge, impressive drop in temperatures, that's for sure. And then as we go throughout tomorrow, look at how cold that's going to be at that point too. 43, 44 there on Tuesday, 53 there on Wednesday with another rain event. All right, let's cycle things back to just kind of the radar. Again, appreciate everybody joining. And we'll break down kind of the latest. I have multiple different radars and apps that I'm looking at, trying to find kind of any of those notches, anything that could be potentially severe at this point. Good news is Gratiot County, the storms are all towards the east, so that threat has died down. No tornado warnings have been expanded into Saginaw County at this point, and no tornado warnings have been expanded on in towards portions of Genesee County either at this current point. So something to keep in mind is that could definitely change. But it looks like from a tornado warning standpoint, we're just watching kind of this little bit in northeastern Shiawassee County, pushing on in towards portions of Genesee County. I'm not seeing, and again, this is very good news, I'm not seeing a ton of rotation with this at this point. These events are just honestly very, very tough because you can get actual confirmed tornadoes that do touch down without really having radar signatures that look very good. There's a little bit here with just these little tiny notches near the reds and the greens. Nothing extremely concerning at this point, which is, of course, fantastic news. Hopefully, we're going to be able to expire this line of storms. This is the debris tracker, and we're trying to ascertain if there's anything being tossed around in the air. Not seeing it. Not really seeing any kind of super noticeable signatures there. So, I mean, that's obviously great news. We don't want to have to deal with anything there. Head down south again. And yeah, certainly need to watch this line as it comes through for potential of quick little spin-ups, but I'm not seeing anything super indicative. But this is a lot of very gusty wind. I mean, no doubt about it. There's severe thunderstorm warning for Genesee County until 7:45. And yes, you can see on the screen that wind speed risk is up to 80 miles per hour. So I'm saying you're definitely going to have a pretty good 50 to 70 mile per hour wind risk. But yeah, there's definitely the higher chance there too. But I would watch for this area here, coming out of Chesaning and the St. Charles area, moving off towards kind of that north-northeast. But everywhere is certainly going to have the chance for some strong winds as this line moves on through. Going to move back to a kind of that regular Doppler radar here. I think what we should do is send things back to regular programming here in just a few minutes. And obviously, we'll very closely continue to watch everything, and we will have streaming live coverage here off and on throughout the evening, certainly on air or online, on our website, on our app. But for right now, it looks like the main tornado threat has died down at this point. Obviously, things can very quickly change, so we might have to come back on air in just a little bit. But this is going to be the line of storms to continue watching. It'll progress off towards the north-northeast across our coverage area in the next several hours or so. So just kind of keep in mind that there could be more tornado warnings issued, and we'll have to come on air and give you the latest information on those. if there's no tornado warnings, we still might come on a couple more times and break down the latest. But just wanted to take a little break and reset here, and you can follow us online as well. So I appreciate the patience. Thank you very much for watching, and stay safe out there in mid-Michigan.
This has been a Mid-Michigan Now Storm Ready Weather Alert.